Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about Donald Trump's aborted effort to actually deliver some of the closing argument in the fraud trial brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Okay, you remember this one, I think. So it's a very big case involving his committing fraud by inflated valuation of different properties. And remember the whole fight back and forth. He said, oh, the bank didn't lose money, but that's irrelevant. The question is, did he get money that he shouldn't have? And the answer of the Attorney General is yes. Because, and this is just sort of one issue that was left for the trial, but yes, because the banks really should have been paying lower rates, or he should have been having to accept more risk because his properties weren't valued as much as they were. So the basic damages is to disgorge his unjust enrichment. And that's where we start here, because the trial went on for for a couple months, and the judge, Justice Arthur Engoron, justice is just what they call trial court judges in New York, ordered before the trial that fraud had been established, so it wasn't even worth litigating. But then they went through specific properties to intent, et cetera. And now they're at the closing argument stage. So the judge just sort of went away for a month, took a recess, and now is coming back and receives from parties, as happens in civil trials, proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law. And the AG, who originally had asked for $250 million in damages, is now asking, and has really documented in a long filing to the court, $370 million in damages. That's a very big price tag, especially given the supposed insolvency, or close to it, of Donald Trump. But she's also asked for Trump to be barred from any work in the real estate industry. Presumably that means, sandwich board on Fifth Avenue advertising property, and from being an officer at all in any other kind of New York corporation for life. And his kids even are the two Trump sons for 5 years. So that's what the New York AG has asked in her proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law. And you have a judge, Engoron, who really does seem very disposed to socking it to Trump, has accused him of lying. And of course, he had to endure all of Trump's attacks on his law clerk and the like. All right. But so the drama of the last day, the sort of last one in the court, is Trump announces he would like to deliver some of the closing argument. And that's what's happening tomorrow. Closing arguments are being given. Now, extremely unusual, maybe never happens, that a party who has a lawyer actually delivers the closing argument. That's what lawyers do. And what, they get up and try to explain why, given the evidence, their side should win. That's a lawyer's job. He was not. Some had reported he wanted to testify. He wasn't going to testify. He was literally going to get up and do part of the closing argument. So the New York AG said, don't let him do this. It's irregular. It can't help, et cetera. But Engoron said, I'm open to it. I'll see what he has to say. But, and then he proceeded to put the kind of conditions down that anybody who knows Donald Trump and has seen how he tries to exploit legal proceedings for political gain would put down. And basically they were simple, although he itemized them. And it was, you have to make a closing argument. You have to do what lawyers do, which is comment on the evidence, explain how it goes. That means you can't make a political speech, which is something, he specified that. You can't try to tell me how terrible you've been railroaded. You can't try to reverse things that have already been decided. You've got to make a closing argument. period. So, but otherwise, I'm open to it. So let me know if that's acceptable to you. And a pretty sort of informal practice in New York State court. There's back and forth between the judge and Trump's lawyer, Chris Kise, who goes as Chris. And so the judge puts that there and then says, so let me know. Let me know by Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And literally the time just passes, and Kise, his lawyer, just doesn't respond. Then he eventually does respond, but not with a yes or no, but rather with a total diatribe that it seems pretty clear comes direct from Trump. First of all, it's cut and pasted in the document, which maybe Kise did on purpose, so as a way of saying, please don't blame me, Judge. But it's classic Trumpian. There's like weird capital letters, and it says he's being treated very unfair. And, he needs to be able to tell his side of the story, exactly the sort of thing that Trump would be saying. So that made it all the clear what Trump was up to. He wanted to give the campaign sort of speech. And, then the news cycle, which he's exquisitely attuned to, that it would cover Trump. It would cover what he had to say. There'd be a flood of reporters in the courtroom because he was going to give his closing argument. And it would be the political stump speech, totally claiming grievance and, the sort of thing he's been saying out of court all this time. But that's exactly what Engoron was on and said, you can't do it. So make sure, here are the conditions, etc. Doesn't hear from him. And then finally, today, he says, look, I'll give you, I haven't heard from you, which is pretty stunning, when a judge gives you a deadline and you don't even try to say anything, say, we'll get back to you or whatever. I think that probably had to be kind of choreographed by Trump as well. Any professional lawyer, and Chris Kise as a professional wouldn't have wanted to do it. Finally, at 11:30 or so, he said, what's going on? And he says, I will give you, I think, until noon. It was just a few minutes at that point. And there's not to accept the conditions. And then you can go and do this, a regular thing, which the AG says don't do. But Engoron said, no, I'll hear you. Noon comes and goes, and no word from Trump, literally no word. So at 12:05 or whatever, Engoron says, sorry, okay, that's it. I was open to it, but I told you this was your last chance. You didn't respond. Trump may not give a closing argument. Now, he handled it. It's irregular anyway to ask to do it. There's no right. Once you have a right, of course, to counsel, and you have a right to be your own counsel, but you can't mix and match. So, normally someone who's chosen counsel can't just get up and kick him to the side and do their part. But plus, ample warnings that he just doesn't respond to. So that it's not going to give him any kind of legal claim. It will perhaps be the sort of thing he can now claim a grievance on. They wouldn't even let me talk, try to raise money. And maybe that was the game the whole time. But at a minimum, it was really clear what he wanted to do. And Engoron was onto him and wisely was able to put the kibosh on it, was, make a political stump speech, not talk about the evidence, talk about how he's been mistreated and the like, and give the message that he's been giving to his supporters all the way along. Completely improper, has nothing to do with the evidence, etc. So we know that that's really where he was going, because he backs down when he's forced not to accept the condition that he not say that. So maybe this is enough for him to try to raise money off of or make a big point, but really, I think what it shows is the judge, like other judges, are really on to him and what he will do, how he would try to kind of hijack the system to say irrelevant, basically political stump speeches. And Engoron gave him a lot of rope to say, just tell me that you'll agree to these conditions, which are very reasonable conditions because they apply anyway to any a juror. A regular lawyer can't get up and doesn't have to be told. He can't get up and start making arguments that have nothing to do with the evidence. So it's really sort of by the book. Trump can't play by the book, so Trump can't deliver this closing argument, and he can't dominate the news cycle in quite the same way as he was hoping. And that's sort of it. This is not the kind of issue that will have any legs on appeal, and he basically can make of it what he will. But he wanted the chance to sway Engoron, which of course you may ask, why did he care anyway? No, this judge is against him. No way it would go anywhere. But I think it's pretty obvious he wanted to seize the news cycle and make his speech be the one that everyone covers first, et cetera, and that he could then leverage. But now that won't be happening, and he was sort of smoked out for what he wanted to do, and Engoron properly prevented it. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.